Yeah, you're in the middle of sharing a little project you guys are working on. You wanna open up with that?
Oh yeah, sure. We've started making college baseball cards for the 2019 season. So we've got some time. We got the whole
time, desperate for content. So.
Yeah, the whole SEC has been charted, and we're working our way through the card making process.
Yeah, I should probably put it on my. I should probably do a little poll myself and figure out if I should try to bridge the gap, the 16-17 seasons. See if people are interested in that, or a 2001 or two. You know, pick a couple years in there and see what people are interested in. Well, we have a little bit of time, and we were talking too, starting to lock in a few people. About a fourth of the way through the 2020 season now, start to lock in some of those players and get the cutouts going. I don't think people appreciate how much. Not that they don't appreciate it. It's just tough to realize how much work it is and how much you have to work ahead to get it done in a timely manner.
Oh, yeah. So once you can start cutting guys out early and saving those and getting it all set, so then you just enter the numbers at the end.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss. Beautiful.
The whole thing starts together. I know when Matt and I were making them, he was always super diligent with that. If you're not following me on Twitter, I did a poll which team you'd like to see, and the option was the 09 Blue Jays, the 09 Orioles, and the 09 Red Sox. And you were under the impression that our Canadian friends at the Mounties got out and voted to win the Blue Jays.
I think so. There are a lot more Toronto-based Showdown fans than I think a lot of us Americans give them credit for. So to all you fine Canucks up there, get some Tim Hortons.
So we're going to be drinking our Tim Hortons on this one. So, and we were saying that this is the elevator game team where everybody feels like their stock was either on the rise or their stock was falling if they were on this team. Nobody seemed to carry on at the exact rate that they were.
And no one seems to be on the middle of the ascent or descent either. They're either, still at the base of the mountain on the way up, or they have finished their climb and are at the tail end of the career.
We're going to get going, take a look at some of these folks. So this is our second time going through the start because I did not update the next slide, but this is the fourth team in the AL East, which was a pretty decent AL East, and it's not like they were that far under 500 to be the fourth team. They're offense heavy, over 200 home runs. That's the mark I look for like these guys are going to have some homers on their chart. Is that the number you're looking at, about 200?
Oh, yeah. The 200 homers, 300 doubles are usually like where there's some real pop, and they are over in both. They're slow, though. Definitely a slower team, which is going to scare off some managers. But overall, it's a really fun lineup.
So it looks like fifth oldest. It's an AL East lineup, right? An old lineup. The on base isn't as high as you normally see out of the Red Sox or the Yankees, but these are AL East type lineups here, where you're going to get on base, you're going to do some damage, and you're not going to be manufacturing a ton of runs. Also, they're going to get hit around a lot. Obviously, ERA is very dependent on what division you're in, what league you're in. So the AL teams are going to be at a disadvantage, but 4.5 is 4.5.
And that's really depressed by the superstar Roy Halladay, future Hall of Famer, bringing out an excellent Tier 2 card in this team, and without him, it gets ugly.
And it's always great when someone had an original Showdown card, and they had a great card that I made in the 09, right? That was exciting when people bridged the years of silence there.
Yeah.
Pujols had a card, but it wasn't good. But Pujols, CC, Jimmy Rollins had a card. You have guys who Beltran just seemed to stick around for forever. So
Bartolo Colon.
So who ended up? Yeah, was Colon Did he end up being the last guy?
I think he. Well, Pujols is still around.
Oh, that's right.
From the original 2000 set.
In the most technical of sense.
I think from the 2000 set, it is Colon.
And sad, Roy Halladay's no longer with us. That's the old gunslinger. If you're Doc Holliday, right? You put a lot of life into your years. So sad to hear it go that way. quick breakdown here. We saw the Rays last time at about 4.5, and we're seeing Toronto at about 750 points less, give or take. So this is a below 500 team points wise.
Yeah, like 3,800 is usually I think of as the 500-point team, 500 win-loss record percentage team. As you can see, they're a little under that 3,800-point mark. So, I mean, if they weren't in the rugged AL East, maybe it's a 79, 78-win team. Having to play the Yankees, Red Sox, and Rays, that hurts and explains why they were a 75-win team.
Yep. The on-bases for the batters are wrong, but the other stats are right there. We're not going to redo it for that. So,
yeah.
Attention to detail. I'll put it all in the comments below, or you can track it for yourself at home. Pay attention. So, gotta move our pictures so we can get Marco Scutaro in there.
Oh, I love Marco's cards. And this is like the first of at least 3. I know in the 11 and 12, more on base 9, 300 points or less, a little more than speed B, solid shortstop defense. He's a guy you can plug into your lineup and just sort of, let him be. Great addition at shortstop.
Yep. So I'm gonna say Elevator probably went up this year.
Yeah.
It went up I think it went up exactly this year, where he was just gonna be a 8th, 9th, 10th best shortstop in the league. Not any sort of big player, but he was gonna put up some sort of Kevin Stalker type card. Not that that's the exact comparison you're looking for, but to your point, doing a lot of things well. So
I like to think he's like
on the chart. He's going to get on base at shortstop.
Oh yeah, so he's going to be dependable. I think of him as like that moving walkway at the airport. He's just dependable. He helps you get where you're going, but he's not going to really make your travel that much better. He's not going to carry you to a championship. But he's going to get you to your gate on time as your number 8 or 9 hitter.
Yeah, and maybe we should do this next year. But the idea of like at the beginning of the year, if you had to draft people and then play with their Showdown card at the end of the year, you could do a lot worse than Marco Scutaro at shortstop.
Especially as a guy like me who would have taken Yelich number 1 this year.
Yeah, I have my keeper was Pete Alonso, so the polar bear is hibernating right now.
Pain.
By my estimation, 4th best shortstop, and that's not even considering points. Just if you were to just take them off the board, and that's with a monster of a Tulo, Hanram, and Jeter. So no shame in being 4th to those guys.
No.
So Aaron Hill, who apparently didn't put his name on the slide, but it's on the card, so you can tell who.
Yeah, we see it.
So. Guy's an all-star. It's an interesting way to spend 320 points.
Yes, but I think this fits those power teams that you've talked about, the power team construction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, extra base hits at 12 is not an easy find. I know people are hesitant to spend on an on-base 7, but you're getting that speed A. You get single digits singles, and you're going to be hitting a lot of extra bases. This is a really, really good number 6 hitter, I think.
Yep. And this was not the greatest second base year in the world.
No.
So this is actually, maybe in the top 8 second basemen for an 8-man league. So this is not horrible here. You got the speed A. I like the speed A low on base. It's not going to be grinding me into double plays.
Yeah.
So I love because he's somebody who's going to make you feel something. 12 or higher. When you start getting down to the 12s, when you get close to almost 50% extra base hits, it's like, the pitcher's like, okay, I'm going to get the advantage. But if I don't, there's going to be some damage here.
I think that's what's going to be really fun. If you go with an on-base team that has low sort of across the board, bunch of 7s and 8s, you're eventually going to get some charts. And this is the type of card that you want so that, maybe you're getting 4 less charts a game. But if on the 7 charts you get instead of 11, you're doing so much more damage, you're gonna be in a great spot, and that's what this guy gives you.
Well, and in single season, again, remember he's going to face some 2s and 3s.
Oh yeah,
he's going to get his damage. He was an all-star. This is not a bum. Right. Oh, elevator. Elevator on Aaron Hill probably goes down after this year.
Didn't he have one really good year in Arizona? I remember like a 400-something point on-base 9 card from him.
That might be the case. He played till 2017, so he stuck around for a minute.
I'm guessing 2011. Yes. Wait, nope. That was the bad year. 2012.
2012. So
yeah, that 44 double.
Pretty good year. He had one more. Would end up being a 5 the next couple of years. So
yeah, that 2012 year though, I remember that card. It's an on-base 9, 18-20 homer, 17 double, and I think he doubles at 13 with those 44 doubles, 13 or 14. Maybe it's a single plus at 13, but he's
and he had the 6 triples, which is always gonna.
Yeah, so he's got one on his chart. He was a really, really good card. And I remember wanting to put him on the Blue Jays, but he was obviously a Diamondback. And I was like, do I play him or Jay Bell? Him or Jay Bell? They were so similar card-wise. It was awesome.
Oh, I do love that Jay Bell. I do love the classic. So, but his elevator would go all over the place. So he would put up just some crazy years and then he'd just be done. So Adam Lind, elevator goes down after this. I thought he was gonna be a consistent outfielder, but elevator goes down.
Yeah, which is a real shame. He made the all-decade Blue Jays with this card in this season. Put up some good power numbers. I love the double at 14. Really solid on base 9.
That's the thing with these Blue Jays is I think each one of them probably has another double than what you would expect.
Which does go with the plethora of doubles that they hit as a team that year.
Yeah, those Rogers Center doubles where it seems like every series, something's going to bounce off that concrete and just go over someone's head or scoop by a first baseman and slide into the corner. 8 or higher single. I'm looking for those for cheap runs, so he could bat third, and I wouldn't, if you're not spending a ton, if you don't want to have a 500-pointer, you can do all right here. Left field, right field, +0, probably not as big of a deal as I think people make it out to be. I think I value outfield defense much lower than I value infield defense.
I think if you've got a plus guy at one other spot, you're going to be fine.
You can get a 3 center fielder pretty easily.
Yeah.
That can pretty much cover your whole thing. But here's Lyle Overbay.
Close to my heart as a Brewer fan, forever.
He led the league in doubles one year.
Yeah.
Oddly didn't have an insane double this year.
Yeah, only hit 35 doubles.
Only. I think, but he was young, and I think your hope is that you do the Manny Machado thing where you hit a bunch of doubles, then you power up and you start finding your home run swing out of that. And it didn't work out that way for Lyle.
Poor Lyle. And I think it's an interesting card. I think it goes well with guys that like high on base. As the low points on base 9, that's attractive. Kind of tough that he doesn't single until 12. This might be a frustrating card for some managers if you put him high up in the batting order. But for 250 points, you might be able to roster him and hit him in the bottom third of your lineup, in which case just him getting on base is a win.
Not this year. I just can't. Not the 2009 first base, Sadly, we have we covered Teixeira with the Yankees, right? Who's one of the greats. But you just have so many. If you have a 8-man league, there'll still be a 10 or an 11 in the league. Nick Johnson. I think Nick Johnson. Yeah. I hate Nick Johnson. I hate that Nick Johnson card because he's on every one of those high on base teams that people like to build and post. But I think I'd rather take Nick Johnson and lead him off on a power. Well, not on a power. That's the problem here. Is it's tough to burn first base. I didn't put a whole lot in the notes. I didn't want to talk this much about Lyle Overbay, except for that his elevator was going down.
Way down.
But if this doesn't show you that you do not draft a first baseman high if you're doing 09 draft, just let somebody come to you. You could get Lyle Overbay passed out to you in a 16-man league.
Yeah.
So this guy, elevator, it's going to go up here in a little bit, but not right now.
Love Joey Bats. Fun to see him as a third baseman as well.
On the crazy card he's third base and left field, right field, right?
So valuable.
Yeah, because you can have Bautista, you can have Sammy Sosa, and you can have Roger Maris, and Bonds. I think Maris didn't qualify for center field in 61.
But boy, it's that's one of the most fun cards out there, and just like that Blue Jay blue that's on here pops so well when printed off. So he's a year away, but it's fun to see him as just man in the hot corner, putting together a decent on-base 8 card. I don't know if I'd try to draft him unless I've got like 5th points on my bench. I can kind of stash him as a pinch hitter late in the game with the decent speed and on-base 8. But, I mean, it's a fun card just to see and know what's coming. That he goes from an on-base 8, homer at 20, on-base 9, homer at 15 in one season is just phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, apparently really changed his stance.
Yeah.
Changed his stance on something, that's for sure.
That must have been.
I do love his bat flip, though. That is, like, I was kind of out on him until I saw that WWE style bat flip.
One of the most fun cards that I've made in recent times is that 2016 Bautista of him just flipping the bat.
I love it.
And the one of him getting punched.
Oh, yeah, he took a punch, though.
He did. He stayed up.
Yep. So, also probably not making it in most leagues. Running off a couple of names. Remember, David Wright was healthy once. This is a great A-Rod card. Aramis Ramirez is probably one of his last good cards. Joe Figgins is a 10-speed A with no homer, which automatically makes him draftable regardless of anything else. Ryan Zimmerman in his prime.
You can't forget the guy who was ahead of him for a good chunk of the year before the trade deadline. Scott Rowland had a really good, maybe his last good season.
It's tough because I always gave him +3 just out of respect after this. Probably I kind of thought Scott Rowland was at the end for a while. So
I think he got it. Did he get a 9? He was really good.
He was a 9 that year. He was a 9, the 250-point C, 20 homer, 17 to 19 double. So Rowland was good. You're probably not drafting that Bautista card, but in single year he'll do okay. And again, I'm with you. It's fun to see the evolution. Maybe if there was a league where you picked players and then you randomly selected a card from like one of 5 years.
Yeah.
5-year stretch.
Well, I liked I think someone did a league where they had it was my friends and I. We had the 2011 and 2012. And so we'd have all the players on the team and we'd go with their best card. And at the end of a series, you'd roll for injuries. And so anyone who got like nicked up, then they became their weaker card. So Jacoby Ellsbury, for like a 6-game stretch, went from this epic on-base 10, 590-point guy to an on-base 6 who was like 120 points. And it was brutal for the Red Sox.
Some of these Blue Jays are doing exactly that because you got Encarnacion here, also playing third base. So
great picture for him.
Yeah. He's
he just struck out.
Two guys play third base who are going to go on to be 10s. And
not at third base.
Not at third base.
Move them off the hot corner and watch the bats heat up.
Yeah. So if you're playing with the points on the card, this is another piece of data to just let's digitally transform the game here. This guy should just be 200 points. If you can get him for 150, just take him. Use that as your punt, save the 50 points. He can make it up. But he should be worth 200 points. At 200 points, I don't love him, but at 150 points, I do.
Love the speed. Sneaky part of that card.
Big walk on a 7 hurts. So, How do you feel about a 70.7 arm?
He's going to get drafted. Just as that punt, people love punt catcher with an arm of 7 or better. And that is going to get Raul picked up by somebody in a 8 or 10 team league just because he's cheap and has a good arm. They're going to hit him 9th, and they're going to use the points elsewhere.
So I have an even better option coming later here for you. By the way, also, Bautista and Encarnacion's elevator going up. I could not tell you a thing that happened to Raul Chavez after I
He never got in the building. He's just kind of like out on the street. You're like, oh yeah, he's around.
He very well could be. I wish I'd gotten better definition. I got the blur on his hand, so he just kind of looks like he's got a club.
Oh, he's spinning it right now.
Yeah, he's got something. If you have the points, if you need the arm, he's pretty good. And he can bat a little bit. If you're spending a little, so if at the end of your draft you have a few more points than you thought, get a 6. He'll do a little bit of damage. 7 or higher. He's only got the 1 walk.
Yeah.
All right, Travis Snyder. Whatever we said about Gabe Gross, and I say that about Travis Snyder.
Yeah. Is he a little less power? Is that the big difference here? I don't really.
They're almost the exact same. I think they're very.
Oh, that's fun.
So, supposed to be not an awful pinch hitter. My grammar, apparently.
Yeah.
So, all the grammar Nazis, I caught it. But hey, put it in the comments below. I'll take it. So, not sure what happened to Travis Snyder either. I'm gonna assume his elevator went down after this.
I don't think it could have gone that much lower, but he's another guy who was barely in the building.
There we go. Here's a guy whose elevator somehow did in fact go down from here.
Poor Vernon.
Did he have the 4 the next year? I think he did.
Yeah.
I do love 4s. We'll do a little illusion there. Interesting chart though, right? He can do a lot of things for you as a 6.
I think it's just tough to spend 180 points on a 6.
Yep.
Even with the 19 speed, even with extra bases starting at 12, it's still a 6.
Mm-hmm.
In like a 30-team league, he's going to put up counting stats against the low control guys who have to come in, but it's going to be real tough if you're in an 8-man league, and still tough if you're in a 10 or 12-man league to give this guy at-bats on a consistent basis against the rotations and bullpens that people are going to be putting out. So real tough after the great run he had in the mid-2000s.
Yeah, that big contract, though, didn't do him any favors.
Well, it did him a lot of favors off the field, but, his play declined noticeably.
Yeah, it's crazy. Him and Delgado looked like they were going to be, some sort of crazy duo, and it just they're never able to put it together like that.
Yeah, ever since that 2006 season, kind of it all went down. I mean, 2008 was good too, but that 40 double, 32 homers, just like 2003, those 2 years really stand out for him. And he had a run of 3 straight Gold Gloves.
I did not know that he had 3 straight Gold Gloves. I knew Raul Mondesi always had a crazy. He was the good defensive outfielder on those teams. So.
Yeah, no, 2004 through 2006. So also in Torrey Hunter's heyday, he was winning Gold Gloves.
Yeah, when one of the spots was automatically eaten up. So good on you, Vernon Wells. Pretty sure you're only going to be a 20th pick if somebody's screwed up their points somewhere along the way. Here it is. Here was the card I think I was the most excited to talk about. For 20 points, if I'm going to punt, I'm going to punt.
Yeah, I mean, he's super cheap. Still gives you that arm.
You know how I know that I loved this card even back then? Look at that cutout.
Yeah, that was
I probably spent more
high
time
def
cutting this card out than the rest of the team.
Yeah, the effort is clearly there. Looks like you found a large, high-def picture. The finger is perfectly cut out.
Yeah,
like there's no jagged edges.
They like cut all the arms off the Renaissance sculpture because like the hands were so difficult to like for them to mimic.
Is that his foot down there?
Yeah, you got his foot. You got the pad coming off of his foot. Like, I loved it. I was infatuated with this card even when I made it.
I mean, you knew that the 20-point card was going to be the real star of the set. He was always going to get drafted, so you had to make sure it looked good.
Yeah. So the 4 is always the person with the lowest on base who qualifies for the batting title for me. That was always my thing that I would look forward to. For some reason, I always had an excitement for the Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL draft. Like someone's got to be the worst. Like, why not get some sort of special honor?
It might be Christian Yelich this year.
I have hit home runs with Rod Barajas, and they feel so good.
I can only imagine because you're more likely to get out on your own chart as a 4 than to hit a home run, and that scares me. See, I would spend the 50
You're looking at the wrong part. You got to look at the bottom there.
I would spend the 50 points for that 6 to feel a little bit better with my 9-hole guy than to hit like 0.004 for the season with my 9-hit. Although that one hit would feel so good.
Oh, yeah. It is tough to have a speed 8 for a 4 because you're going to be rolling on the pitcher's chart the whole time.
You're going to have so many double plays.
You have to put a speed A in front of him and just run.
I will say, you completely earn him being 20 points with this card. You know, like, that was one of the things with my set, was there were a lot of guys who are like speed A 23 for 20 or 30 points. So there are a lot of punt guys that people could pick and then were really useful and probably worth more than their 20 or 30 points. Mm-hmm. This one, you are making the sacrifice to field the chief guy. And I like how gung-ho you are about it. You're the manager who's willing to do it. I don't know if you've like fished for muskie or northern pike ever, but I got a
northern. I actually was watching Alone with my roommate, and somebody had caught a northern pike, and I told him this story where the kid I grew up with, his dad had a bass boat, which apparently was used to store. Apparently, having something that has a whole lot of storage compartments and you meet people privately was good. We didn't hang out with him much after that, but he took us fishing, and I caught a northern pike. Unbeknownst to me, I catch a northern pike, and I'm reeling it in. I'm like 7. I go to put my hand down, and this guy like grabs my hand and pulls it away. It's like, let me get this thing. And then I look down, this thing's like a dinosaur.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally a freshwater barracuda.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what. When you start seeing the multiple rows of teeth, you're like, oh.
Yeah, so that's I grew up in Wisconsin, where they are, the fish besides walleye that everybody wants to try to catch, and they are known as a fish of 1,000 casts. You just go out and you cast and cast and cast until you get one. That is rod here and a big hit. You're going to have to be extremely patient for that own chart home run. But when you get it, put that sucker on the wall. That's a trophy.
Oh, that's it. It counts as 3 runs in my book. Doesn't count for 3 runs.
I think that's fair.
All right. Here was one. So this is how much I love him. I even put him in front of my World Series winning, cowboy up Kevin Millar. Rod Barajas' elevator was somehow actually on the way down from that position.
Boy, I love that he's still got the highlights.
Yeah, he's working his way into the booth. He definitely has a sportscaster figure here in this one.
He's so fun. Such a fun talking head. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I don't know what the community's feeling is on Kevin Millar, but he makes me laugh.
He is super fortunate that he played before all the shifting was a big deal.
Yeah.
That guy could pull a bullet.
Yes, he could. And he's really good card for the 2004 Red Sox.
Yeah. Yeah, he was good. This one, not so much. Again, elevator on the way down. But you know what? If you're just gonna pull off everything, which is maybe where Jose Bautista learned it, you're gonna hit some homers, you're gonna hit some doubles. There's no
he hit a lot of doubles. Per his, limited plate appearances. I think he had 14 or 15 and under 300 PAs, and he's got the double range to show for it.
There is no reason to have this be your starting first baseman unless you're
not in the '09 set.
I'm not sure he starts at first base in a 30-man league. Like that is.
He shouldn't.
But
he shouldn't.
One guy, bad card, elevator going down. Watch his TV shows.
Ooh, that's a good cutout.
Yeah, I'm a little weak around the glove, right? Apparently, I lost interest in the glove. I didn't cut out I guess the webbing. No, that's his. He's got a batting glove on the inside of his.
Yep, which is a strange move.
Yeah, I think this is one where you can kind of like fill in the gaps of what was going on here. I don't think
he's like, I think he was trying to talk coach into letting him hit. Just like in Showdown, he was only there for his glove, and he's trying to convince the manager, look, I can go up to hit. Look, I've got a batting glove already on.
Yeah,
Put me
I
in.
got one. Let me go, coach. So
double switch me.
I am pretty sure the 19 to 20 homer is not worth the 40 points over Gary DiSarcina.
No.
That guy's tough, right? Like he was one of the few bad cards that it made him so valuable.
Huh. Yeah.
Whereas this really good non-catcher punts in that first set. 80 points for McDonald here just doesn't make
also, it. Talk about their manager. Their manager was Cito Gaston. I have never heard of good old Cito.
I think he won the Joe Carter World Series. I think he managed them in the glory days.
Oh my God, he did. He was their manager from '89. Wow.
Yeah, teams will do that. Remember when the Redskins brought back Joe Gibbs and thought that maybe he'd run like the wishbone or something in 2008 to make it good. That was the Cito Gaston move.
Yeah, Cito. He should get talked about more.
We'll talk about.
He also took a weird break midway through the '91 season. Maybe he was suspended. No, because it's a big break. He managed the first 120 games, and then suddenly he managed 9. So he managed 129 of the games in '91. So he took a break for over 30 games, and then he was back for the full seasons, 92, 93. 94, there's a strike, full 95, full 96. He must have gotten canned in 97, and then came back midway through the 2008 season. 20-year hiatus. And then Cito back on the pine.
Yep. Sitting next to John McDonald because he was not getting in the game here.
I think people should talk about Cito more. Not to he's an African-American manager who won 2 World Series. He should definitely get more love on a national level from baseball historians, which goes to the real a guy who's in the Hall of Fame, Roy Halladay. A lot of love for this guy.
Yeah, Doc Halladay. I think those Blue Jay teams are forgotten when you think of the great teams. To win back-to-back World Series and basically besides us getting that orphan kid that Adam Sandler took care of, that's the best thing that came from those World Series teams.
Yeah, are they the first? The Yankees obviously won a bunch when they won 4 and 5 years or whatever they did.
Yeah.
But the Blue Jays were the first team to go back-to-back since the Yankees of the 70s.
I think the Royals didn't do it, right? They lost one of theirs.
Yep.
That weird Royals run where the Royals ended up good. But
yeah, no, those Blue Jays. Plus, if you combine the teams together, they get so good.
So
which I may have done on Showdown before.
Combine anything together. This thing is a tank.
Oh yeah, and this is one, as I've mentioned before, the 10 customs that I got from you when I got the 2011 and 12 sets back in undergrad. This Roy Halladay was one of those customs and instantly became a friend favorite.
How does it make you feel that I spent less time cutting out Roy Halladay than I did Rod Barajas?
At the time, perfectly fitting. This guy he's just an all-star. He's just a surefire second-round pick. Rod is going in the top 3 picks of
Yeah.
any legit Showdown draft. So you had to make sure you look good.
Somehow Roy Halladay's elevator still going up from here.
Oh, my God. His 2010 and 2011 cards for the Phillies are just filthy.
It's tough with pitchers because there's only so many ways you can be great. Like each number on a pitcher's chart is so much more finicky, so it's tough to, I think pitchers are definitely judged by their consistency. I will take any of the Showdown Hallidays and be okay with them.
He's got a really, really strong run, which makes sense. It's how he became a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. So 1 to 8 non-advancing. So it's not crazy. He's not in the the 50% non-advancing, but he's also got a decent ground ball. The no walk hurts a little bit, but he's going to go a bunch of innings. Again, perfectly solid. He's gonna dominate in just about anything. This is one of the early picks here for sure. So Ricky Romero. So we're going from a larger than normal non-advancing to a 1 to 5, and then you get the David Cone. You kind of get the David Cone set up after that. For 340, how you feeling about this?
I think it's good for that tier 4. He's a solid, maybe number 4 starter. If you've decided to go heavier on bullpen and lineup, then maybe you're number 3. He's the average pitcher personified in Showdown terms.
And you know what the big difference would be if this car was made today? 5 innings.
No, not the huge ground ball rate, thanks to today's upward swings.
I think he's a 5-inning pitch.
Oh, yeah.
Guys like this are a dinosaur. If you're going to walk people and stuff, they're just not going to let you linger around for 6 innings and try to figure it out.
I'm sure it would have helped him.
Yeah,
they've been able to go shorter.
I think this year we're going to have a legitimate 3-inning pitch guy.
I wouldn't be shocked.
So it is. The walks are actually good. I like the double walk there, right? You can get yourself out of it with the ground balls. He's gonna make sure you have your heart meds, but for 340, I can live with this.
In the Cleveland League that Bob has put together the last few years, there's at least one manager whose whole style is drafting these guys who are control 4, 1 to 15 out, 330 to 350 point guys with big ground ball rates. And so this guy would get snatched up really early for him, and then he'd load up his infield with defense and talk a lot of smack with his squad.
No, Rabu's a 5. Who's the fat guy on the Marlins? Who's the 4? Fernandez?
Oh, Alex Fernandez?
Yeah.
Yeah, that type.
Romero, though, slimming picture. It looks like I cut a little bit out of the waist, though, to make him a little less Fernandez-y.
He's got that nice hourglass figure.
Yeah, there it is. So I like this. If I'm doing single team, I'm okay with this as my number 2 starter, especially since Doc's going to duel with anybody.
Yeah.
And we're falling off. I think Ricky Romero's elevator was going down. Also,
he had one really good year in the future because he got a tier 2 card from you in the 2011.
Yeah, I guess he put it together for a little bit there, didn't he?
The problem was the year that he was an all-star. Yeah, he ends up getting a control 4, 1 to 17 out card, but it had 2 doubles on it.
The 2 doubles.
That was brutal.
And you hate doubles entirely, don't you?
Less than other people. I mean, it's always good when you can get a guy with no doubles, but I'll take a higher tier over the no doubles. So if it's 4, 1 to 15 out, no doubles, versus 4, 1 to 16 out with 1 double, I'm taking the extra out with the double on the chart personally. But when you've got 2 doubles on your chart, it is just, oh my God, it hurts. One of the funnest leagues I did was I did your 2011, 2012 sets mixed with the 0001 cards. The Blue Jays ended up winning the AL East. That Ricky Romero with 2 doubles finished the year let's see, He had 9 starts because it was 36 games. It took me 2 years to play this all out by myself. Ricky Ramiro, 9 starts, had like a 9 ERA, but went 5-4. Because I did different managerial strategies for each team, and the Blue Jays were like, if we're losing, the starter just gets rocked.
Oh,
and so
Ricky not there for dead.
Ricky got ground, so he'd pitch 7 innings every time, and sometimes it went great. Half the time it went really bad.
Yeah. So here, changing the way baseball. It's Scott Richmond here, right? Obviously got tattooed all year. 6 innings pitch. Go figure it out.
I mean, that's Cito being an early '90s manager.
Yeah, that's back in the '70s when Cito played, you pitched the whole game. So
he's like, "You got it, Scott. I believe in you."
Yeah, you give
they'll stop seeing that 4-seam fastball down the pipe eventually.
Yeah, eventually gonna miss. Unless you're doing like 5 starters and you gotta save like
undraftable.
It's just, I mean, you have to really create a situation where Scott Richmond's playing.
It's bad.
Yeah, same thing here with Brian Talent. A 2-1-15.
I mean, it's the same tier. You're getting a control, so he's like objectively better. But this is a situation where it's like, I'd rather drown than burn to death. You know, it's like I'm saying that this is. You're saying like.
He's giving up an out, so it's pick your poison. But
yeah, no, they're the same tier. They're the same. Same tier, except one is technically a higher control, so you're gonna give up less charts. So you're like that's technically a little better, but it's both. It's damned if you do, damned if you take the other one. You're in deep trouble either way.
Also, just noticing this now, I feel like that little Blue Jays logo above the chart needed a little size.
I was gonna say I think it's kind of fun when it's so small.
What is it?
I don't know why. It's just like mine have been big, the ones that I've had over it, and so as I've seen it throughout the 2009 set, I've kind of liked it like being so minimalistic in a way. I don't know.
These were pretty minimalistic. I did not understand how to make these.
I mean, it was the first ones really made in a decade. So that in and of itself is awesome.
Oh yeah, the criticisms were super low, right? When especially as I go through it now with a fine-tooth comb and because these were just made to be played in my dorm, right? Like I didn't expect these to see the light of day. Nobody caught that Edwin Encarnacion was 50 points.
No.
Less than
people are just happy to have Showdown.
Oh yeah, it was like, we don't have to play with Mark McGwire, who hasn't played in forever. So in this single team year, this Jason Frazier is either going to finish a game, is either going to finish games, or he may have to pick up games in like the 5th for Talent. And like if it's like a 1-1 game in the 4th, you're really looking at Jason Frazier for like 3 innings.
Oh yeah, but from a managerial perspective, I love adding this guy to my team. I love tier 2 relievers. I always try to have 3 of them. So put this guy on, whether he's going to be the guy I typically use to close it or in sort of that fireman role. I love having 3 so I can always pitch 2. Mm-hmm. Have solid enough starters to get me 6-ish innings every time out if I can. And, then try to fill it with a couple guys in the 100, 110 point range just in case, like your Kevin McGlinchey types. But man, I love this Jason card here.
No double, which I like. 1-7 non-advancing. If you get a decent catcher and decent infield, you're just not going to give up a ton of runs.
No.
So, like him, I think this team would absolutely use him a ton, especially in their 3rd and 4th games of any season.
He might have more innings pitched by the end of the year than those 3 and 4 starters.
Depending on your tired rule. So here's an interesting, 130 points. There's not a bunch of 6s in 2009.
Love it. Love it. Because I think this card, as you'd move forward, would be like 150 points. So you get to save 20-ish points for this guy beast. And on his way up, he ends up putting up some really good so he's a tier 3 here with the control 4, ends up being a control 4 tier 2 with the 1-17 out a couple times for the Angels.
So since I'm not great with like the glow effect, the guys with the hair like this was always a struggle.
But it looks great. I can only imagine how Josh Hader would look if you'd been making it like this the last couple of years. And B, I mean, I love the poofy effect he's got going here. It shows how hard he's throwing it right now.
Incredible ground ball. So you bring up an interesting question. When we design relievers, I kind of just default to the 2000 style. And it just feels like you get bunched up above 100.
Yeah.
And I don't know any way to make relievers interesting except for being scarce in single season with the 6 1-15s.
Yeah, I decided to go kind of right in between the 00 and 01 for the points. And so I found really good success with that. So like this guy would be like 160 points probably in my set, which makes it a little more like, ooh, do I spend for that? Do I not? And then you get a little more wiggle room as you go in because the top guys end up being 240 or 250 points. It's kind of in between the original set where they're all like 200 points for real studs.
Well,
and then 01 where it's like
you can't go above
300,
right? Because
like Billy Wagner is insane for 230.
Yeah, like that's a deal at 230. Like
it's an absolute steal.
He's probably a deal. He's probably a very minor deal at 300.
Yeah, and so because 01 you get like Tom Gordon at 300 points, who's an amazing card, but in 00 he would have been like 220.
Yeah,
and so like in ours, Tom Gordon is like a 260 point reliever. We kind of like figured out where the difference in pointing is, and then went basically right down the middle.
So I don't like, not that it's difficult when you merge years because it's like who screwed up the relievers the most.
Yeah, so ours was like, you know what? They were both wrong. They should be right in the middle.
I believe you're right. I think the same way I think that Sosa card should have a 13 to 20 homer and give you more options.
Oh yeah.
I think relievers are just so bunched up that if we were to digitally put all these on there, that just convert all of them, get a consistent scoring method on there. So that was, needless to say, Scott Downs good.
Yeah.
John Camp, not good.
Not good, but good for 40 points as your number 5 or 6. If you're a guy like me who hates having a bench, I love just going 9 hitters, 4 decent starters, and then I love putting guys who I can get 3 outs or maybe 2 outs at the end of a lineup to save the IP for my good relievers. A guy like Sean Camp is crucial for me to draft as my number 6 reliever. You know, as I'm getting to my 20 men, that means I got to have 11 pitchers. I know I want the 3 tier 2s at the top of my bullpen. I want a couple guys in that tier 3, tier 4 range who are mid hundreds. I mean, that's got me up to 9 pitchers, but that means I got 2 more spots to fill, and I can't spend a lot. So a guy like Sean Camp, who for 40 points gives me essentially like a Max Suzuki from the original set, you know, obviously reliever 4 versus starter, but a guy who can come in against the 7, 8, 9 hitters, you know, and say my starter goes 6 1/3, you know, and I'm trying to get it to my 2 studs at the end while saving guys because of my resting rules. Boom, Sean Kemp comes in to take on that 8 or 9 hitter. Maybe he gets them both out. Maybe he only gets 1, but that's still 1 less batter or 2 less outs that count against my really good guys' IP when they've got to get through the heart of the order.
Yeah, he could very well be the best 40-point reliever in this set.
I think he's a good deal. I'd take him.
Decent. The 1 to 7 I consider a standard non-advancing. And then 8 to 13. Usually if you can get that type of ground ball, it's going to come at expensive strikeouts. So
yep.
I can take it. I could live with it, but, you know, it's still a 2, so, you know, evaluate them correctly. Here's a quirky one, right? They've got some quirky cards.
Hey, love the picture. That powder blue look is great. I'm glad they've been wearing it in Buffalo recently for those Buffalo Blue Jays. And, I mean, for Control 2, no double. But, I mean, this is exactly what I was talking about earlier, where I'll take the extra out, even if it means sacrificing the double, where I would have taken Sean Camp over Brandon League anyway. And then I get to save 60 points.
Yep.
Great deal.
Yeah, no double costs you sometimes. And then no double and then +7 strikeout. So
the huge K range is great for him.
This would be a fun team to manage on the pitching side. I don't think they hit well enough in single season for me to really be super interested in playing them. But you're an under 500 team. I don't know how many ones are interested. They'd be fun to mix and match because you could get some good games out of Doc. You're probably having a full bullpen or close. So all right, there's Cito. Like that. So I think he's 6 offensive and 4 defensive.
Ooh.
So
makes sense.
Yep. So I gave him the percentages and the favorable matchups, which are kind of generic. If you're going to get both, it probably is just a generic, hey, you're an offensive team thing there. Yeah. So nothing to say here. We've seen those cards. So try to get a couple cards to give them some doubles here. Just thought on bad angle.
I like this bad angle, and I like that. I think this fits with Cito's 2 World Series, that he's got the bad call strategy card to get out there, get in the ump's face, and change the way an at-bat goes. That's the power of Cito, who I just learned about today, but is already climbing my all-time manager power rankings.
Yeah. So we got bad angle, we got just inside. 2 ways to kind of convert singles into doubles. So,
I mean, you're going to need that bad call for your Rod card when he strikes out on his own chart. This is how you convert that into that home run for Rod.
Well, he's got to have a single on his own chart, but I don't know how many.
No, the bad call one. The bad call that turns a strikeout result into a reroll of the swing.
There you go. He also somehow doesn't strike out on his chart. He oddly just apparently put the ball in play a ton that year. Just,
you know what? Good for Rod. Just to the wrong guys. Terrible BABIP.
I'm curious to see what the advanced metrics said because he didn't have a strikeout, so he apparently wasn't on pace to hit 100 strikeouts in a season. So apparently he put the ball in play weekly, but also somehow hit a good bit of home runs. So Rod Barajas.
Let me try to find what his BABIP was.
It's an enigma wrapped in something and a 4 on base.
Advanced stats.
So we have Banjo Hitter here for discard a card. If the batter has an 8 on base or less, you can reroll the swing if you have the advantage. Try and have some strategy cards that are specific to if you have a low on base. How do you feel about strategy cards for low on base guys?
I think they're crucial to making them work. Because otherwise, there's just a huge because my friends and I never played strategy cards. Mm-hmm. So something we've been working with on our sets is giving more outs towards the end. So there's just a bunch more on base 7s. Because realistically, when we were playing things out, the gap between on base 10 and on base 6 guys was far too large for the real life gap between a guy, with a 393 on base percentage and a guy with a 315. Like I think Vernon Wells this season had a 318 on base percentage.
Yeah, so 320 has always been my cutoff for 7.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it's always felt like a good. So the 7, so there was always 25 10s, 2 11s, 23 10s, 25 9s, 58s by batting title stats. And then if anybody had qualified for that who was under, then there were some minimums. But then the 7 didn't have a set number. It was always 320, and then under 300 was the 5. And then the lowest on base percentage qualifying for the batting title was the 4.
And those are the exact same cutoffs we used for the 2018 set.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that we found playing it out was the guys who had that like 318 on base percentage were so much worse than the guys who had like the 325 on base percentage, even as a 7. Like we saw basically really good, similar to real life production from on base 10, 9, and 8, where it's like, yeah, the 8s have slightly lower on base percentages, but are raking much more if they, properly hit more home runs, more doubles, etc. But it was a pretty steep fall off from 8 to 7, like a little further down, and then just absolute off a cliff from 7 to 6, where the guys, in leagues, draft leagues, versus playing it all out for all 30 teams, but they were almost unusable in actual league play. And so we upped 7s, gave more outs on 7s charts, found where if you give 6 outs on an on-base 7s chart, it's expected on-base percentage against a control 3, 1 to 16 out is 300. So we're like, okay, we're going to distribute from that. And it's led to like a lot more useful or interesting on-base 7 cards and just a lot more offense in the set in general, with more varied guys, which I think made it more realistic in terms of depth, where like a guy like Vernon Wells this year might not have been as far away from a Lyle Overbay as, the way that we've been doing on base worked. So that was an experiment that we've been trying that I think has worked well, but we'll see how it goes moving forward.
Yeah, it's interesting, those low on base. Well, because the original set was 450. I think you got 9 batters. Yeah, the 2000 set's 9 batters, 3 starters, 3 relievers, which I think was a mistake. I think because you couldn't play a whole series with just.
Yeah, there are too few guys. And 600, like you did, is the best.
Yeah, because you get it, and then I think there's an advantage to. Again, I like the Baskin-Robbins team 31.
Yeah.
Where you just get, guys who just didn't fit on their team for whatever reason. Carrying on here, 3 down. It's a good card. So, Tito Gaston seemed to like leaving his guys out there. You didn't play with a ton of strategy cards. It's always interesting how to give, like, catchers more arm besides, like, pitch out and such. So it's like, okay, like.
Well, and that'd be deadly for a guy like Mitch Garver last year, because that's a guy who was legit on base 9 homer at 15 power.
Yeah.
But he's a +3. So people are terrified to draft him and play him at catcher because of his arm. But if you've got fastball outside going on, maybe you don't DH him.
Yeah, you got a chance. You have a way to defend yourself a little bit. So, here's an interesting one. The frustrating one with the bases loaded. I don't think anyone's ever come up with good. I think everyone has like house rules on like if there's a ground ball with the bases loaded. So
yeah, I like this.
So you got a way that the pop up is the comebacker to the pitcher. Because I always just viewed pop up as like weird out. Like if something weird's gonna happen, we'll just assume it happens during the pop up.
I honestly think of it like you were talking about the Kelevin type of idea. The pop up is the Kelevin out of Showdown.
Yeah, like it's just one of those weird ways that people get out, right? It could be a line drive, it could be an actual pop up, right? It could be a comeback to the pitcher, it could be a nubber.
The foul ball that was caught.
Yeah, there's all sorts of that's all it's just one of those nondescript outs. So.
Oh, all right. Do you want to guess what Rod's BABIP was in 2009?
I am not well versed in the BABIP. Is that one that normalizes to 100?
So it's like normal batting average out of 1,000, batting average for balls hit in play. So when you take away all his strikeouts, all right, so like when he hits the ball in the field of play, what his batting average was?
That'd be like 210?
It's 220. Well, 220, 229, which is abysmal.
Yeah, like if you're taking strikeouts away, I just don't think he struck out as much as you would think. I don't know.
No, he did not.
He
did not strike out much. Boy,
but somehow hit home run. Like I don't know what Rod Barajas play like what his theory was going up to the plate.
Oh God, his isolated power, 177. That's terrible. That's slugging percentage minus batting average, and so usually your your slugging is, oh my God, poor Rod.
Ooh. But he had a fun card this year. This was a fun team. It gets fun. I think when you start looking at teams year over year and how they evolve, I don't know how to like graphically represent that well, but that's an interesting little project, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I will put the other two AL East teams up on the poll. I will be heartbroken if my Red Sox don't win.
Let's go Orioles.
There you go.
Au revoir, Canada.